This is Mel Pine with what I think is the 17th edition of the From the Pure Land podcast. This one is entitled Considering Peter Singer on Giving Tuesday, Food for Thought About Ethics and Charity. Many of us have mixed emotions about special days, those days designated for us all to act and feel in a certain way. Mother's Day, for example. I knew a woman who detested her mother so much that on every Mother's Day she held a brunch for friends who, for whatever reason, preferred not to celebrate or even think about their mothers. It was well attended every year. Father's Day. That was a tough one for me growing up in the 1950s when two-parent households were assumed. My father got very sick when I was 7 or 8 and died when I was 11. So Father's Day and father and son events were painful and embarrassing. Later, I felt diminished when my adopted son thought the holiday was all about his grandfather. Valentine's Day. I suspect that most of us had awkward and uncomfortable experiences in school, wondering if we were giving and receiving the optimum number of cards, just the right cards to the right people. Thanksgiving Day. In a recent blog post, I explained my ambivalence about it, and I'll mention some of that as we go on. Then there's Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and Giving Tuesday. These have been tacked on to Thanksgiving weekend in the United States. The first two, Black Friday and Cyber Monday, by the for-profit business community, and the last one, Giving Tuesday, by the non-profit business community. They have been enormously successful. Now, my Vajrayana Buddhist practice incorporates gratefulness and generosity into my essence. Or more accurately, I guess it's more accurate to say, my practice is to recognize and rest in the gratefulness and generosity that are part of my inherent Buddha nature. So creating a special day for those aspects of my being feels odd. And incidentally, it encourages me, my ego, to seek out opportunities for recognition. And as I've said before, I don't particularly need to feed my ego. Now, as for Black Friday and Cyber Monday, my practice tells me that it's okay to take advantage of a sale now and then, but not to cling to the idea that the sale or the item purchased will get me closer to happiness. I feel similarly about Giving Tuesday. It may be a skillful means to remind people, including me, about charitable giving, but I welcome the slew of emails I receive no more than those I receive about Black Friday or Cyber Monday or for that matter, leading up to Election Day, which blessedly comes before Thanksgiving weekend. But that's just me. The goal of From the Pure Land is to spur and encourage you on whatever path feels right for you. And in that spirit, I want to explore aspects of generosity, and I'll use the ideas of Australian moral philosopher Peter Singer, look at them from a pro and con standpoint as food for thought on the eve of Giving Tuesday in the United States. You may be familiar with Singer because of his best-known book and his website, both called The Life You Can Save. You can download the book for free on his website, and I give a link to it in my blog post, which you can access at melpine.substack.com. You can access any of the links to things that I mentioned here there, and you can also just search on Peter Singer and The Life You Can Save, and you'll probably find the opportunity to download it for free. Anyway, that website is especially useful because it helps identify what, according to Singer's criteria, are the world's most effective charities. It was about 10 years ago when Singer's website helped me choose a charity called Give Directly as a regular recipient for my charitable spending, which continues to this day for that charity. Its mind-bogglingly simple philosophy is that the lowest overhead and highest effectiveness can be obtained by simply giving poor people money and following up on effectiveness. I highly recommend it and encourage you to check it out on the website givedirectly.org. I think that's the website. Yes, givedirectly.org. Singer has made significant contributions to the field of ethics, particularly in the areas of animal rights, effective altruism, and utilitarianism. His work has sparked both admiration and controversy. Here's how Jack Maiden, founder and director of Philosophy Break, sums up the questions raised by the thought experiment that Singer often uses. Whose responsibility is it to improve society? Do we each have a moral duty to help those we don't know? And if so, how far does that duty go? Now here's the thought experiment in brief. Your walk to work takes you past a knee-deep pond, and on this day you see a toddler splashing in it. Then you realize her arms are flailing and she's in danger of drowning. You see no one else around. The child must have wandered there on her own. You can easily wade in and save the toddler, but then your new shoes would be ruined, your suit would need cleaning, and the aftermath would make you late for work. What should you do? Well, the answer in this case is obvious, but Maiden goes on to explain, having established this, Singer then asks us to consider the fact that actually there are children dying of preventable causes around the world every day. In poverty-stricken areas of the globe, for instance, children lack access to life-saving medicines or vaccinations that cost just tens of dollars to administer. If we're willing to sacrifice our clothes to save the life of a drowning child in front of us, then surely we'd be willing to sacrifice a few spare dollars to save children elsewhere from preventable deaths. The question Singer then puts to us is, well, why don't we? Why aren't we all routinely giving as much as we can to help save children's lives? Overall, Singer's utilitarian philosophy would guide our actions and our spending toward increasing happiness and reducing suffering for all beings worldwide. It makes no difference to Singer whether the child in danger of dying is about to drown in a pond in your neighborhood or about to starve to death on the other side of the globe. And for Singer, all beings definitely includes animals. Singer's views make sense from a Buddhist perspective. But then there's that non-Buddhist aphorism about the devil being in the details. Or maybe we can make it a Buddhist aphorism by saying that Mara, the demon, is in the details. Singer, for example, finds euthanasia permissible in some circumstances for severely disabled infants. And some critics find flaws in applying Singer's ethics in everyday life. In a Philosophy Now article titled, "Peter Singer Says You Are a Bad Person," Howard Darmstadter, an adjunct professor of philosophy and law, says, Singer's ethical theory has become controversial because it has led him to views on abortion and euthanasia that many find abhorrent. However, for most of us, issues about abortion and euthanasia seldom arise, whereas eating and spending are daily events. But in areas involving animals or charitable giving, Singer's principles have awkward consequences. Consider, if all pleasure or suffering counts equally, then, as his argument goes, the pleasure of suffering of your own children should have no special place in your calculations. So if you live in Ohio and are deciding whether to spend $200,000 to send your daughter east to Princeton for 4 years, or instead spend $80,000 to send her down the road to Ohio State, while giving the other $120,000 to save the lives of African children, well, hello, Columbus, Ohio. Here's another quotation from Darmstadter. Finally, that child in the pool. Everybody knows what you should do. But suppose that later that day you encounter a second drowning child. Again, we would want you to take the plunge. But a third, a fifth, suppose you had encountered 100 such children every day. Perhaps at some point you'll think, why does all this fall on me? And walk on, pretending you don't hear the child's screams. Or perhaps you'll just spend more time away from pools. Darmstadter's point is that our feelings about one drowning child we can save can't be compared with our attitude toward all children in mortal peril. Now, my views loosely align with those of Peter Singer. The goal of what I do is to reduce overall suffering. But I do tread a middle way between all beings and the beings I know and love. I feel loving kindness for all beings, but I do sometimes give priority to humans over termites, and to my spouse over all women who are recovering from surgery. On the other hand, I encouraged my sons to go to state colleges. Charitable living is not an either-or state of being. I welcome any thoughts you might like to share in the comments or by sending an email to melpine, M-E-L-P-I-N-E, @substack.com. With acknowledgement of all sorts of giving, indeed or material things, with special acknowledgement for giving that's done with no visibility or expectation of reward. May you all find your joy in giving.
times for those to come. The echo of our human song. Waymakers wait for me beyond the lights, and it's my time where I belong. I hear sounds of tongues I do not know, and I feel ancient wisdom gathered around me from Asia and Africa and Appalachian hills. Now I know I'm not alone. Beyond borders, beyond our sight, beyond ourselves, beyond borders, beyond our sight, beyond ourselves, beyond borders, beyond our sight, beyond ourselves, beyond borders, beyond our sight, beyond Thank you all so very much. Have a great evening, y'all. Thank you.
And may all of you in the US and elsewhere live in a perpetual state of joy and gratitude.